Okay, episode 3. We have already decided we're not entry-level entrepreneur because there's somebody else called entry-level entrepreneur, and I called it that yesterday. So we're now calling ourselves business biology. It's all right. We'll morph this out. This is only episode 3, like we talked about. And today we thought we would have some pretty interesting discussion on kind of the day in the life. So maybe give a picture of what we've done today, what our average day looks like, how it kind of morphs into productivity, and kind of go from there. I don't know. I think it'll be interesting.
And this is Brady speaking. Hello. And this will be something that we kind of do randomly because today isn't necessarily – it's a typical day, but it's not a typical day at the same time. You know, it's definitely turned out to be a more easy day. But that's kind of the point of these day in the life episodes. We're going to kind of consistently do them every couple months or whatever.
I think it morphs into organic conversation too.
You know? And so eventually you'll pick up, a hard day. You'll see kind of everything that goes on. But it's just kind of –
and today was a good day.
Random snapshot in an entrepreneur's day. So,
and it's a good day that has been productive and low stress. And this is the day that being an entrepreneur.
This is a good day. This is one of the days where you're glad you're not.
You want to talk about today.
Yeah.
You want to talk about today.
Yeah.
Like it's not something you want to put off to talk about in a month once you've gotten over it.
So let's just kind of start out and break down and talk about how it started off, I guess, and just kind of
I could start about maybe mine, and then we can kind of where we intersect.
Just literally start it where from you got up today and what happened.
Yeah, and so my days are not structured by any means, but I go through spurts of trying to be a little more strict in my discipline on what I actually do. So I'll go through weeks where I don't wake up until 9 a.m. And then I go through other weeks where I'm saying I'm going to get up before 7 every day of this week. And so I've done that so far. So I woke up at 6:45. I immediately got outside. I sat on my back porch. I did a short meditative session. I'm kind of picking that back up. I've kind of been a proponent of that for a little while. And honestly, I feel like it's benefited me this week. So I did that. Then I go in, sit down, have breakfast at my desk, start checking email. I mean, that's how I started today. Every day is not like that. I'm not like a super worker in that regard. Although I do check my email pretty early most mornings. I read a little bit of news and I go from there. I think at that point, I got everything done a lot earlier than I thought I was going to. We were actually supposed to meet up at 10:30. I got done a lot earlier than I thought I was going to. And so I texted Brady and I was like, all right, well, 9:30 is kind of more appropriate. He was ready. And so that's whenever we met up. And so that's kind of where our paths intersected today. It was about 9:30. Honestly, it's late. Generally, it's 8:30 for us.
Yeah.
We start most days together at 8:30, the days that we work together. And
that's when we start together because at that point, oftentimes, some days when we see each other at 8:30, we've just kind of gotten up, whatever. We're kind of just got coffee in us, wherever we're doing. But some days, one of us has already been working for an hour or two.
Yeah.
So,
that was me this morning.
Yeah.
And I came in feeling good.
Yeah.
And like I'm done. And that's one of the reasons today has been low stress for me is because I knocked out everything I needed to knock out at the beginning of the day. Like any email responses that came in, anything that I needed to do, I'm not waiting until I get back home tonight at 6 or 7. It's done. And so I can ignore my email the rest of the day and I will probably be fine. I'm not going to, but I could, basically. Yeah. So that's another reason it's kind of low stress right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of that's where our paths intersect. You can kind of work your way there too.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I kind of, with my wife and daughter being out of town at my parents' house right now, I didn't have any responsibility this morning. Mm-hmm. So nice. I just purposely slept in. Uh-huh. And, whenever I wake up, I get up. So, sometimes that's early. If it be 6, then I'm up at 6. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's like right after 8, right when you text. And I'm like, okay, I better get done.
Sometimes I don't wake up until I text you.
Yeah. And so, I try to let it be organic because if I'm tired and, it's just like, and I might have talked about this on the first episode, I can't remember, but I think it's just like athletics and anything else, you have fighters that will fight in MMA, and you might have someone that's a better fighter, but they lose that match, and it's just not their day. They just don't have the energy. There's just no, pop to their punches. Their legs are gone. They just don't have it. And oftentimes you see in a rematch, you see the true them come back where they typically are. Right. And it's like, if you're, for whatever reason, if it's not your day, you're not going to perform. And if I don't feel like it's my day, and I feel like all of my tasks I'm kind of slugging through, and I'm just not there, I stop performing, and I it's not my day, and I try to rest. And it doesn't mean I completely quit working, but I might turn to, reading or watching some interviews.
But you're learning. That's the other thing too.
Sure.
Like, you're not, whenever you say rest, you don't mean I'm just going to zone out.
Well, sometimes I'll do. Sometimes I will.
But you generally wind up having something involved where, like, there's always some form of, and you're thinking about business the entire time. You're thinking about operations. You're thinking about some aspect. I mean, that's kind of what we've talked about before is we're consumed.
Right.
It's not like I'm not thinking about anything other than business.
Most
of
the
time.
It's your whole life.
It's what we revolve around. It's not like a hobby.
Well,
it is like a hobby.
It's your whole life.
It's the whole life.
If you don't enjoy it that much, it really probably shouldn't be your thing. I don't know. I don't know what it's like.
I'm sure you can operate without it, but it's got to be more.
I know it's cliche, but that thing, do what you love, is so true.
It's so true.
It's like a character in any TV show that you see their whole life. They're going to bed thinking about their problems, whatever the show is, whatever the main character is. Mm-hmm. That is their whole life, their job. If it's the FBI agent, or if it's the, senator, president, or whoever the character is in the show.
Right. That is what their life revolves around. It is.
Particularly all these detective shows, they're just 24/7 working on this. They're James Bond.
They're consumed.
He's always working on it.
By that.
That's how you should be. But anyway, I try to let myself rest if I don't feel it, because that day when I am feeling it, the next day, perhaps, or the day after that, I don't want to take away from that by over applying myself when I'm not feeling it.
Right. If you're not
already drained, I need to rest, slow down a little bit, because I know that second wind is coming. And every time I have waited, perhaps taking on Monday easy, Wednesday at 10 p.m., it hits me, and I'm just having an hour, of brainstorming where I have, it's stuff that kind of drives me for the next few weeks. Mm-hmm. And I think you only get those special moments organically. Right. When you're letting yourself rest when you need to, and then you're applying yourself when you're at your best. So, maybe you want to put in 40 hours a week, but you can get there organically. Your body will pull you there.
Right. So. Right. Well, and it's like we mentioned earlier too, about how 50% may only be a third of the productivity of 100%. And if you waste your batteries at 50%, like, you'll never get to 100% where you can be exponentially more productive.
Right. Yeah.
So sometimes you just got to let yourself recharge. And by recharge, I don't necessarily mean like completely quit. It's just like, I'm not doing task work today. I'm not doing draining things that require a lot of brain calories, because you're sitting there, you got to type out an articulate email, or you got to do something like do some calculations or do some Excel spreadsheets that are not necessarily fun. But you have to burn brain calories doing that. It may be left to a different day to where you can get it done quicker and also get a lot more stuff done.
Right.
And feel better about it.
Like we were talking about, and so other many things, like working out, resting every other day is so common.
Right.
It's very accepted. But for some reason with work, it's this 5 days and 2 days. You rest 2 days and you apply yourself for 5 days. There's no way you're hitting optimal whatever
productivity. Let's call it productivity. Yeah, there's no way. There's no way. I mean, and that's kind of our lives and our work falls into our circadian rhythms, our natural circadian rhythms is what, I mean, for you and I, it does. Like, we work whenever we feel like we are going to be working, and we sleep when we're not, and we spend family time when we're not.
We're able to do that because it's truly our passion, and that time is going to come back around. Right. So we're not trying to cram it into an 8-hour block that we It's not a 9 to 5 or 8 to 5.
Yeah. There's no time limits.
Yeah. If we think about something at midnight, we get up and work on it.
We get up and do it.
That's our passion.
I made a phone call at 9:30 p.m. last night.
Right.
Because that's what I got an email at 9:15. And so we had to call and talk about it. I didn't say I'm going to put this off until the morning because it needed to be handled then.
Yeah.
And now
and
I
you know what? You
today.
probably weren't too stressed out to do that because at 3 p.m. or at 9 a.m. or whatever, you probably took a little break and ate some ice cream.
Went to lunch.
Hung out with one of your kids. Or,
I went to yoga at 9:30 yesterday.
There you go. And that's why you weren't too stressed to take that call.
Yeah.
And you handled it at that time, whereas someone else might have said, you know what? I got up early this morning. I'm tired. That can wait till tomorrow. And then it didn't get. Then the next morning, they were doing it this morning where you were coming over here earlier.
Right. And I had stuff like now it's done. It's out of the way. Sometimes I don't tick things off my task list very fast. Some things I do, but I think prioritization is a huge part of that too. What really needs to be done and what doesn't really need to be done.
Right.
And a lot of times stuff that doesn't need to be done, unfortunately, just gets pushed away, just gets pushed aside. And then one of these days when you're feeling 100%, you knock all of it out at the same time.
Oh, I do that. I'm such a spurt worker. I'll get so much done in such a little amount of time and then such little done over, of task work. I'm always getting certain things done, but of certain work that I can push off.
Right.
There's something like running the route. You can't push that off. There's certain.
We're doing that regardless.
Yeah. I'd say at least, half of our time is stuff that we could push off if we wanted to.
No way. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff like that.
And that's good too, because it keeps you, we don't feel like doing something on Wednesday morning. It doesn't matter. I think it's okay to have some consistency, but it's not this 5-day and 2-day a week thing. Just doesn't seem natural.
It doesn't for you and I don't think. I've fallen into it before. I've done it before, but I never liked it. Really, you're just looking forward to the
2 days
weekend.
a week. I do the Saturday and Sunday.
Sure.
I just want another day or two.
Another day or
and
two.
it's not taking away hours again. Let me repeat myself.
No way.
You're getting the same amount of work done. Ideally, you're getting more done, and if anything, more time. Yeah. You're not stressed out during those hours as much. So you put in more hours and you're more productive during those hours. So, and I'll share real quick. And again, I feel like I talked about this on one of the other podcasts, but
it's all right. And the thing about that is real quick. I think we'll probably hit the same things many times over, but I think that's super important to learn too, because you hear things enough different ways, you'll eventually understand them.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah. Exactly.
You may not understand it the first time.
Yeah. But so I kind of arrived at this. This was, I guess, 2 or 3 years ago. I didn't have a lot going on that next week, and so I just wanted to see kind of organically how I worked. And I tracked my time, and I wanted to basically get a base 40-hour work weekend because that was kind of our office, culture. And so I basically slept in on Monday morning pretty late, like noonish or so. I ended up working a couple of hours. Ended up leaving early. I think I went and trained and ended up, just kind of doing that for the rest of the evening, and then slept in Tuesday, kind of about to the same time. But then I had a partner meeting that kind of got me going that afternoon. And then I ended up working, Tuesday afternoon for a solid, 4 or 5 hours, came home, did dinner, then worked a little bit that night, thought about some things, but Wednesday came and I was just kind of up. I didn't sleep in.
Right.
And then Wednesday, next thing I knew, my wife was texting me, asking me where I was. It's like, and it's already dinner time.
Yeah.
And it's like the day just flew by. I got so much done, and then I'm working that night, and then I'm up the next morning, Thursday morning, and I'm working late again, and I didn't work as late as I did Wednesday night. But by that time, between Tuesday and Thursday evening, I'd put a lot of time in.
Yeah.
And a whole week, And then Friday I slept in not as late as I did Monday, Tuesday, but I slept in, and then I went into the office, went around, powder around for a couple of hours, caught up with everybody, and was done for the week. And I checked out. I didn't think about anything really until late the next Monday morning. And those Mondays, and it's I don't always do this because organically I get pulled away from doing this. But if my body has kind of pulled me in this direction and I don't have any obligations, I definitely go this route. But where Monday is just, not many hours, and it's just to get the week going. Because it's great to come in Tuesday where it's like Tuesday is almost your first day without the first little things. Those are the first little nitpick things already done. So you're kind of rolling, but it's kind of like your first day.
Right.
But anyway, the point is, it was just an experiment, and I felt like when I followed my body naturally, I got a lot more.
You also follow your natural motivation, because if you spend a little time away, you start wanting to work again. You start wanting to get things done. You start wanting to feel productive. And if you wait until you're starting to want to feel productive to actually get going on things, you're going to really get going on them. You don't burn yourself out earlier in the week if you don't feel like it. That's kind of the thing that I do too. Like you say, you knock out the little nitpicky things that don't take long on Monday, and you relax into it. And then on Tuesday, you're kind of getting raring to go because it's been 3 or 4 days since you really got into things.
Right. And you are going to want to work.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing something that you enjoy,
you're going to want to do it.
You're going to your mind's going to be racing, because all those days off, you were getting ideas. You were kind of recharging.
Right.
And
you're dreaming. You're thinking about what could be.
You're going to want to start applying.
And that's really the key there too, is like, I like to take a day a week, and generally I talked to my wife about this probably last week or week before last. Sundays are like my dream days. Like, I let my mind kind of go wild on Sundays. Like, I like to drive through the nice parts of town. I like to do things. I like to think about things like, this is why I'm motivated. I want this. I want that, and I don't want it all to be about material type things, experiences and everything else, but I let myself dream on Sundays, because by Monday night, Tuesday morning, those dreams are like kind of motivating me and pushing me to keep going forward.
That's a great practice.
And so I started that about 4 weeks ago. I've been doing it like subconsciously for probably a year or two. And then I really kind of thought about, what am I doing on Sundays? Because I generally let myself go, and I really enjoy doing that. And then my wife is on board with it, and she helps. She thinks about things. We kind of just talk about where we want to be, future plans. And then Sunday night's on planning night. So I get my notebook out and I say, what am I going to do this week? And I write it out. And so I know that, like, I got to do this stuff in addition to the tasks, and this is how I'm going to move myself forward. And it's been really helpful. I like doing it.
That's cool. I love that.
Yeah. So Sundays are dream days. It's a great day to do it too, because nobody's answering email on Sundays. So,
right.
Like, generally, like, that's everybody's real checkout day. So I kind of adopted that too. And it's been a lot of fun. So now we're at the point where we got together in the day.
Oh, yeah. We still got to go through the day.
Right. No, I think we're organically getting there. We're organically getting there.
So let's just go through what happened. So you got here. We got in our work van. Uh-huh. This is for the vending machine company.
Right.
And we went to our storage unit.
Uh-huh. Did inventory?
We did inventory. Mm-hmm. Something that we will soon be eliminating.
Right.
Because we're going to have this automated.
Right.
We're developing a product.
And let's talk about the logic a little bit behind that too.
Sure.
So the logic that has come out of this, and I can't say that it was there in the beginning, but is that we bought a company that we learned the inner workings of and figured out where we could automate it. And now we're working on automating it, which is actually a great system, because that's applicable to almost anything. I mean, almost anything. And the thing is, you don't have to be super technical to automate a lot of this stuff. You could pull a lot of stuff off the shelf.
Yeah, a lot of this was just process that was already there that we just weren't implementing.
Right.
Like having Coke delivered to a mini storage.
Right. And so, and as a result, now we're saying, okay, well, there's actual opportunity here, because we're not the only ones having this problem, but we're the beta users, and it doesn't matter what else happens. We gain value out of making this product. And at the end of the day, if somebody else gains value out of having a product like that, then we'll see if we want to sell it. But at the same time, we can develop something for our own problems that then may be valuable It may not be, but it will always be valuable to us.
And we may actually talk about that product tomorrow since Nick will be here.
Perfect. Perfect.
I don't know that he'll be necessarily the lead developer on it, but he'll be the lead on it.
Right. He'll oversee it.
He will oversee it.
Yeah. And so there's like, that's another little snippet of how we're thinking about business and how we're thinking about small scale private equity that we've mentioned.
And the approach is to save us margin, to save labor time.
We cut costs.
Primarily.
We cut costs.
Yeah, to recognize efficiencies, to make routes more optimal.
Right.
And again, we can get in. I think that's a great.
It reduces
probably
hours.
2-part series on all that. That could be a whole lesson.
Right.
The mechanics of that.
Right.
But as a result, we will probably then have something that we can sell to other competitors and companies like us.
Right. Right. That has a lot of value.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, the value proposition is absolutely huge.
But the point is, it was a genuine approach. It was to save our own cost.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, we will then have something that we can sell on the market.
Yeah.
So It's great to develop a product around your own needs.
That's the ones you understand the best.
Oh, exactly.
I mean, that's kind of like an age-old adage is like solve your own problem. And like if you're going to do a startup company, solve your own problem because that's what you actually understand. And it's true. I mean, in most situations, that is so, so true. Once you've experienced a problem and you experience the inner workings of it, talking to customers that may have this problem will only get you so far as depth of understanding is concerned. Like once you experience it yourself and you deal with them, it's completely different.
Right.
Completely different level of knowledge. So that's another like little thing that we're doing. So we're doing inventory.
Yeah. So we did inventory. We realized we were planning to go to the Coke warehouse and make a big order. Mm-hmm. And we decided against that. And we actually just did a little shopping. When I say shopping for the business, we went and got a little more product. That probably took overall an hour and a half.
Hour and a half. Yeah.
And when we got back, kind of loaded all that up in our unit.
Kind of prepped a little bit.
And by then it was noonish.
12:30.
Mm-hmm. And then we went to Chick-fil-A and
had lunch.
And throughout the day we were working on problems. We have a check that we're waiting on from a customer.
The time is not wasted.
We were working on that issue. We are selling a route. Mm-hmm. We were talking about the response to that. Mm-hmm. We are also looking to get into due diligence on another acquisition. Mm-hmm. We were kind of checking in on the status of that. So we had other things this whole time. It could sound like, we didn't really do much. We just went and got some product, put it in storage. But, we were talking about a few things going on there all at once.
Every hour, every minute is kind of spent thinking about what we should be thinking about.
Right.
We're not so serious. We don't joke around it's not monotonous and it's not like a lecture, but it's like we're focused on what we should be doing. We're not like necessarily just dicking around, to say like we're having a good time. And it's funny that I say that, or just dicking around, because at one point in our careers, our wives thought we dicked around a lot. And until they kind of realized that we're actually thinking like strategically on a lot of things.
Yeah, and it's an easy trap to fall into. Friends working together, and it's fun, and it's easy to not do work and not get serious.
Right, right.
But you put some money in together, you're gonna follow. You're gonna
if you care about it.
If you care about it, you're gonna keep up with it.
Right, right. And so that's just hanging out can be work if you set it up the right way. It can definitely be work if you set it up the right way. And it's fun. It makes it a whole different story altogether. So that's kind of where we went to Chick-fil-A and we thought, hey, this is a kind of an interesting day to talk about. It's low stress. It's the reason we're entrepreneurs, because we had a relaxing day that we didn't have to tell anybody what we were doing, and we didn't have to clock in. We didn't have to clock out. We didn't have to worry about anything. And now we're here. It's 3:30.
And you know what? And we made money today.
We made money
this whole time. our machines are
they're accepting cash. They're accepting cards.
Right. And
we made money today. It's like, it's like having an asset that generates income passively to a certain extent. It's semi-passive. I mean, it's a wonderful thing because you don't have to be there every day. You don't have to be serving customers chicken in order to get your, in order to get your money. I mean, that's admirable. But we're enthralled with Chick-fil-A owner operators, and that's why I said that. We break down.
We
the
spent a lot of time
at
at Chick-fil-A talk. Well, first of all, today wasn't the first time we've had a Chick-fil-A conversation. We've been having it since we were in our teen years.
Right.
Possibly since middle school.
We're counting employees. We're wondering how many cars are going through the drive-through.
They literally had a sign out that said 364 customers came through during lunch.
Right.
Yesterday.
So we're trying to calculate. Yeah, it was yesterday. So we're trying to calculate
why would
margins.
They do that? Why are they?
I don't know. It gives. I'm glad they do.
Yeah,
it gives me a baseline.
We talked about. We were sitting there trying to guess hourly.
We're wondering how much the owner walks away with.
While you were waiting on our coffee, whatever drinks.
I counted everybody. They had a red shirt on. I'm getting head count. I want hourly wage costs. I'm trying to figure all this stuff out because. They do so much business. Their revenue has to be very high, but what do their margins wind up being?
And we already know, as you found out, that the owners have to be operators.
Yeah, they have to be operators, right? And so I don't know that restricts you from having more than one, but I think it does. I'd be really interested to know, but I know that you're supposed to work in it if you own it. So, I mean, that caps you.
Well, like you said, it probably prevents you from getting more than 3 or so.
Right. It prevents you from getting more than you could actually oversee, without hiring out a sub-level manager.
Right, as opposed to McDonald's where they'll scale up. People have 20,
100. Yeah, 20, 30. There's probably a bunch of people at 20, 30. You own the whole market, basically, when you have a McDonald's. So, yeah, it's just, it's a very interesting business model, but the volume is so high. But Rabbit Trail is a little bit about that was. It's just I think we're really really amazed by, I think, it's kind of trying to figure out. So we're at Chick-fil-A. We decided, it's time. Let's go record. Let's go talk about this day. And here we are, 3:30 in the afternoon.
Came back, hung out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 3 now, and we've just been kind of talking about work and whatever.
Right.
And then we started recording.
Right. So, I mean, that's what you get in the day in a life of an entrepreneur. And, it's fun. It can be stressful. This is a good day to kind of talk about. And, I think that it can be motivation for some people who haven't done anything. And it can be more motivation for people who are doing something to kind of get to this stage. Although I don't think we're not at the stage we want to be, and we're not in an office.
Yeah, but we're doing what we wanted to do, what we said we wanted to do since we were teenagers.
That's true.
Be free.
That's true.
And kind of make our own rules. And that was kind of always our driving motivator rather than money. Money has been a great result, and we've always consciously pursued that as well, but we've really pursued the freedom.
I think freedom's the number one thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it trumps, as long as you're at a certain level of comfort.
Yeah, which you are in America. Anybody in America gets that.
Right.
Anybody has this infrastructure underneath them that's in America, these streets and all the things. It's not – obvious. That's a whole nother conversation.
There's a whole other thing.
It's some places are worse than others, but it's a platform under you that it's enough that your basic life, you're getting more things than most in the world.
Right. If you manage your expenses, you don't have to make a lot of money.
You don't have to make a lot of money
to be super happy if you're free.
Right.
I mean, that's the formula. Let your expenses be less than your income and have freedom. Exactly. I think you're going to be really happy.
Exactly. You can have someone that spends, $10K a month and they make $9K a month in business, and someone that makes $3K a month in business and they spend $2K a month, and that's true wealth.
That's wealth. Yeah.
That's what it is typically for new entrepreneurs and first-time founders. It's, what is my cost of living and what can I make and how close can I get those together?
Right.
And if you can drop that cost of living way down, you're very much increasing your chances.
Absolutely. Yeah. There shouldn't be a monthly burn on your personal side. I think that entrepreneurs that take the plunge of getting into something, and this is a whole nother episode too, and we probably have it written down, but if you work corporate for 10, 15 years, and you're making $100K, your expenses are going to trend towards that $100K.
Yeah.
And then whenever you decide you want to be an entrepreneur,
you're going to keep stepping up your house.
You're going to get a new car. You're going to get all this stuff. You're paying the kids to summer camp. Like, you're going to have these things, and like, rightly so, you've earned those things. But whenever you have the entrepreneurial itch and your income goes to zero for 3 to 6 months, but your expenses still stay as if you're making $100K a year, that is really hard to stomach. I mean, really hard to stomach. And that probably prevents a lot of people from taking the plunge.
And it's hard. Yeah, it's hard if you don't do it early.
It's hard to do it early. Exactly.
And I'm not saying that it's too late if you're. I mean, most people, statistically, I think it's like 45, the average age.
Really?
Yeah, I read that.
That's interesting.
It's in the 40s. It's mid 40s. So,
that's interesting.
But if you are young, go ahead. If you're thinking about it, I mean, now is your chance.
Yeah.
And that was part of my reasoning. I was 23 when I started working for myself, and my thought was, if I go under and I lose it all, I don't have any responsibility.
Yeah.
What's the worst thing? I have a girlfriend and a few bills.
Right.
I can survive. I can make it. But now's my chance.
Yeah.
And if you're okay with losing it and okay with living with nothing, risk as much as you're willing to lose. And I was willing to lose what I was risking.
Yeah.
At the time I had a townhouse and a truck, and that's about it. And I was willing to lose both those things for a chance at, building a company.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's such a good perspective. And it's something that I don't think a lot of people realize early on. I mean, especially, I didn't think that way in college.
I didn't either.
And I wish I would have.
I wasn't even close. I was so far away. And we've been thinking about this forever. We've been wanting to be entrepreneurs our whole lives. And we were not even close. And we had a chance. We were roommates. We could have been doing what we're doing now. We would be so far ahead. If we would have been doing what we're doing now when we were in college.
Right.
And we could have. We were smart enough to.
Yeah.
We just were too immature to realize to get ahead. And I think back then, starting a company seemed so daunting.
It did.
If we would have known how easy it is,
it's not hard.
We would have done it a long time ago.
Right. I mean, you only have to do taxes once per year. You can figure all that out at that time. Don't be. That's one thing that I remember early on. I was like, well, now I gotta pay taxes. I don't want to. I don't know how to do that. And so it was daunting. But you only got to figure it out one time per year.
Right.
So just don't worry about it till you got to figure it out. Then learn how to do it. You don't have to figure that out right now. Just make sure you don't spend all your money so you can actually pay your taxes.
Don't get hung up on things like that.
Don't get hung up on things like that.
Because that's one of the first things people will say too. Oh, you got to pay your taxes. No shit.
Yeah, everybody's got to pay their taxes. That's part of it.
Naysayers are there because most people, 9 out of 10, I think, fail in 6 years or something like that. Mm-hmm. Most people are familiar with failures as far as entrepreneurship goes. And they say, well, be careful. I had someone that...
Well, a lot of naysayers' advice is applicable to themselves. And you can be a different entrepreneur. You can think about it in a more strategic way.
It's their own unrealized potential.
Yeah, and so naysayers, they may have something that you should heed. Don't get me wrong. Maybe heed these things, but don't let it deter you because they say you can't do it, basically. They're not you. Nobody is you. You know what you're doing. You know how you think. You know how you'll tackle things.
Right.
And so a naysayer is only worth so much.
Right.
It's only worth so much. I think practical, actionable advice is worth so much more.
But you're not going to get those off the street.
No.
That person that is telling you in that manner has no clue. The person that has a clue, they're gonna address in a different way. Mm-hmm. They're gonna tell you in a different way.
Mm-hmm. They will tell you in a different way. They'll challenge you.
Right,
is what they'll wind up doing, and that you got to figure it out.
And that I think we could do a podcast on that alone, just taking advice.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
Just reading books, taking advice, all the directions people go off early, and it kind of puts them off on the wrong.
How to approach getting advice.
Right.
Because there's a way.
We've seen a lot of startups get bad advice from people who were not startup.
Right. It's due to their own knowledge, their own laziness, their own unwillingness to go to research ahead of time. Yeah. We could go down that whole path too, and I think we will. So let's wrap it up here. I think we're at a pretty good time, and we kind of hit like a bunch of good points. So that's more or less a day in the life.
Yeah.
I think this is something that I would like to hear, and I think that's early on. That's what we're going on, is what we would like to hear of how other people spend their time, how they budget their time, how they're productive, how they spend their on days, how they spend their off days. Today was like a half on, half off day.
Yeah, and I think eventually we'll have some specific problems that we'll share and break down that happen.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't have anything today, but you know, maybe this time in a month we're in due diligence. You know, we are going to sell, you know, the route that day or something. You know, you'll catch us at the right time.
Yeah, and like the advice will change, and it'll grow, and it'll be insight. You know, advice/insight into our thought processes. And we learn from our thought processes too. I think we learn from sharing our thought processes. And so we're just going to kind of go from there. So
yeah, again, this is as much to help us as anything. I mean,
right.
You learn.
You learn when you teach.
Yeah.
You learn when you learn when you talk about it.
Right.
You learn when you try and frame it for somebody who may not understand.
Right.
So yeah, that's good. So one other thing I'm going to go ahead and mention. I think we're going to try and start live streaming on YouTube. In the next couple of episodes, and that'd be fun for us. Obviously, they'll be stored on YouTube, so we can go back and watch them. So that's kind of part of it. I mean, nobody knows what we look like yet, so I think we should get that out there so you can put a face to a voice and go from there. And so maybe look for that over the next couple of months, couple of weeks, something along like that. So anyway, all right, good deal.
All right, so long.